You know that feeling when you're watching a K-drama and the villain shows up on screen and you're supposed to hate them, but instead you find yourself rewinding their scenes? Yeah, we need to talk about that. Today we're counting down 13 K-drama actors who made being bad look way too appealing. So, let's dive right in. 13. Park Sung-hoon as Jeon Jae-joon in The Glory. He turned Jeon Jae-joon into the kind of rich boy villain you love to watch crash and burn. This wasn't your typical mustache-twirling bad guy. Jae-joon was petty, manipulative, and so completely full of himself that every scene felt like watching a train wreck in slow motion. The way he played that mixture of arrogance and deep-seated insecurity was absolutely addictive to watch. But here's what really got to people. The man made being awful look stylish. Those suits, the cocky attitude behind designer clothes, the way he'd smirk like the world owed him everything. Fans couldn't stop talking about how disturbing it was that someone so terrible could look so put together. In 2025, he's been landing more complex roles, probably because directors realized he has this gift for making you simultaneously want to slap a character and keep watching them mess up their own life. 12th. Lee Jun as Ryu Tae-oh in Gap Dong. This performance was genuinely unsettling in the best possible way. His character was a serial killer who could smile at you while planning your demise, and somehow that contrast between his gentle appearance and his horrifying actions made every scene feel electric with tension. You never knew when that polite facade would crack, which kept viewers on the edge of their seats. What really threw people off was seeing Mbleg's Lee Jun, someone they knew as this sweet idol, tap into something so dark and twisted. Fans at the time were genuinely shook that he had this range hiding inside him. The way he played Tae-oh as this eerily calm psychopath, almost polite in his madness, created this weird magnetic pull where you couldn't look away even though you knew you should. Even now in 2025, he's known for choosing these psychologically complex roles that showcase just how fearlessly he's willing to dive into the darker side of human nature. 11. Shin Sung-rak as Lee Jae-kyung in My Love from the Stars. His character is still giving people nightmares over a decade later, and that's entirely thanks to his bone-chilling performance. This villain didn't need to scream or throw tantrums. One look from those cold, calculating eyes was enough to make your skin crawl. He played Jae-kyung like every breath was a calculated move in some twisted chess game, where everyone else was just a pawn. Fans had this weird relationship with the character, but then praise his acting in the same breath. There was something almost hypnotic about how controlled and precise his performance was, like watching a predator that never wastes a single movement. Directors and even now still seek him out when they need a villain who can command the entire screen without even raising their voice. Because honestly, who else can make breathing look menacing? 10. Taekyeon as Jang Han-seok in Vincenzo. Nobody, and I mean nobody, saw this coming from Taekyeon. We all knew him as the adorable 2 PM member, the guy who did romantic comedies and made us smile. Then Vincenzo happened, and suddenly we were watching him play this completely unhinged psychopath who seemed to genuinely enjoy the chaos he was creating. His character was unpredictable, violent, and weirdly cheerful about all of it, which made him terrifying in a completely fresh way. What made his transformation so compelling was how much fun he seemed to be having with the role. In interviews, he's talked about how liberating it was to play someone so completely removed from his usual image. Fans were equal parts impressed and slightly scared. Like, we knew he was acting, but seeing that level of manic energy come from someone so naturally sweet was genuinely unsettling. People are still begging him to take on more villain roles because, let's be honest, he kind of ruined us for his nice guy characters after showing us what he's capable of when he goes dark. 9. Park Hee-soon as Choi Moo-jin in My Name. His character was the kind of villain that messed with your head because part of you actually wanted him to be your mentor. He played him as this weirdly paternal figure. Smart, ruthless when he needed to be, but genuinely caring toward the people in his circle. That made his eventual betrayal hit like a truck because you'd actually started to believe in him. The genius of his performance was in how he made Moo-jin feel real. This wasn't some cartoon bad guy. He was a complex person making morally questionable choices for reasons that almost made sense. You could feel his authority in every scene, like he could destroy you with a look, but might also give you genuinely good life advice first. Fans are still emotionally recovering from that storyline. He continues to choose these morally ambiguous characters that leave viewers completely wrecked, but somehow grateful for the experience. Quick question while we're halfway through. Which one of these villains do you think your friends would judge you for liking? Comment below because I need to know I'm not alone in my questionable taste. 8. Park Bo-gum as young Sun-ho in Hello Monster. Park Bo-gum playing a serial killer? It sounds like someone mixed up the casting sheets, but somehow it worked perfectly. His character in Hello Monster was this soft-spoken, almost gentle character who happened to commit absolutely horrific crimes. The contrast between his naturally angelic features and the darkness of his character created this deeply unsettling viewing experience that fans still talk about. What makes this role even more interesting is that it came so early in his career, before he became known as Korea's sweetheart. Watching him deliver those polite, measured lines while playing someone so twisted was genuinely disturbing in the best way. It proved he had serious range hiding behind that innocent face. Even now, while most of his projects lean romantic, fans still bring up Hello Monster as evidence that there's a much darker side to his acting abilities that we rarely get to see. Honestly, it makes you wonder what other surprises he's keeping in his back pocket. 7. An Bo-yoon as Jang Gun-won in Itaewon Class. His character was that villain you physically wanted to reach through the screen and shake some sense into. He played him as this spoiled, violent rich boy who used his family's power like a weapon, and somehow made him feel like a real person instead of just a collection of terrible traits. You could see the insecurity and desperation underneath all that entitlement, which made his character both infuriating and oddly human. What really impressed fans was how he never played Junwon as purely evil. There were layers of weakness and fear driving his worst behavior. That made his eventual downfall feel incredibly satisfying, because you'd been waiting for reality to catch up with him the entire time. The role was such a breakout moment that it completely changed his career trajectory. Now, he's starring in leading man projects left and right, but people still remember how effectively he made them hate him in Itaewon Class. That's the mark of a truly memorable villain performance. 6. Ki-jun as Ju Dan-tae in The Penthouse. Ju Dan-tae might honestly be one of the most ridiculously over-the-top villains in K-drama history, and he played every single outrageous moment with complete commitment. This character did everything: murder, blackmail, manipulation, marrying for power, and somehow managed to look calm and fashionable while doing it all. It was like watching someone play a villain bingo card and checking off every single box. The beauty of his performance was that he never winked at the camera or played it for laughs, even when the plot got absolutely wild. He delivered every twist with total seriousness, which made Dan-tae both terrifying and weirdly entertaining. Fans turned him into memes, but they also genuinely respected the commitment it took to sell such an extreme character. He is still the go-to example of how to play a cartoonish villain without it feeling cartoonish. And honestly, those Penthouse memes are still circulating in K-drama fan groups because some performances just become part of the culture. 5. Kim Jae-wook as Mo Tae-gu in Voice. This performance genuinely gave people nightmares, and I'm not being dramatic. His character was terrifying in this quiet, composed way that made every scene feel dangerous. He wasn't loud or flashy. He was methodical, calm, and absolutely chilling in how casually he approached violence. Watching him was like being trapped in a room with a predator who was just waiting for the right moment to strike. What made his portrayal so effective was how normal he seemed most of the time. Tae-gu could have been your neighbor, your coworker, someone you'd pass on the street without a second thought. That's what made him so bone-deep scary. The realization that true monsters often look completely ordinary. Fans praised his ability to make viewers genuinely uncomfortable, like you needed to look away, but couldn't. Even in 2025, Voice remains one of his most talked-about performances, because it proved he could tap into something genuinely dark and unsettling that most actors never access. 4. Lee Dong-wook as Seo Moon-jo in Strangers from Hell. If you only know Lee Dong-wook from Goblin or his other romantic roles, Strangers from Hell will completely rewire your brain. His character was this psychotic dentist who could switch from charming to absolutely terrifying in the span of a single conversation. The way he played with that duality, polite and helpful one moment, completely unhinged the next, created this constant state of unease that had fans glued to their screens. What really got to people was seeing this actor they associated with romance and fantasy suddenly become this master of psychological horror. His character's calm demeanor while discussing the most disturbing topics was genuinely unsettling, and he committed to it completely. Fans were blown away by the transformation, and many said it proved he could literally do anything: comedy, romance, fantasy, horror, and completely own whatever genre he touched. Now, people still consider this role proof that he might be one of the most versatile actors in the industry, even though he doesn't always get credit for that range. 3. Kim Ji-hoon as Baek Hee-sung in Flower of Evil. Baek Hee-sung was the kind of psychopath that made your skin crawl because he looked so completely normal. Ji-hoon played him as this perfectly ordinary guy who happened to be capable of the most chilling manipulation and violence. Those terrifying smiles, the way he could flip between charming and cold, it was executed so perfectly that fans were genuinely disturbed by how convincing he was. What made his performance so effective was how he made evil look mundane. This wasn't some dramatic villain monologuing about his plans. This was someone who could commit horrible acts and then go have dinner like nothing happened. That ordinariness made him infinitely more frightening than any over-the-top bad guy. The role really showcased his range and his willingness to dive deep into uncomfortable territory. GE's continued gravitating toward these darker, more complex characters, and Flower of Evil remains the performance that proved he could make audiences genuinely uncomfortable while keeping them completely hooked. 2. Lee Soo-hyuk as Gui in The Scholar Who Walks the Night. Gui wasn't just a vampire villain. He was a walking fashion statement with fangs. His naturally sharp features and that piercing stare made him look like he was born to play supernatural bad guys. There was something almost otherworldly about how perfectly his whole vibe fit the vampire aesthetic, like the role was specifically written with his face in mind. Fans couldn't get enough of how naturally intimidating he looked without even trying. That cold, predatory energy came across as completely effortless, which made Gui feel genuinely dangerous even in a fantasy setting. He brought this elegant menace to the character that made every scene feel charged with tension. Even in Now, he remains one of the most visually striking actors in K-dramas, and honestly, Gui might still be his most unforgettable role, because it used his natural intensity so perfectly. Sometimes casting just works, and this was one of those times where the actor and character seemed destined for each other. 1. Byun Woo-sok as Ryu Shio in Strong Girl Namsoon. He absolutely blindsided everyone with his performance as Ryu Shio. This wasn't your typical loud, dramatic villain. Shio was smooth, calculated, and dangerously intelligent. He approached his criminal enterprise like a CEO running a business, which made him feel fresh and different from the usual K-drama bad guys. There was something almost mesmerizing about how calm and controlled he remained even in the most intense situations. Fans became completely obsessed with this character, and honestly, who could blame them? The chemistry he had with the female lead was electric. His cold business persona was fascinating to watch, and let's be real, the man looked incredible doing it all. His character became one of 2023's most talked about villains because he brought this perfect combination of danger and charm that had viewers conflicted about whether they wanted him to win or lose. His career has absolutely exploded since then, and in 2025, everyone's waiting to see if he'll bring us more of these complex bad boy roles that showcase just how captivating he can be when he's playing against type. Now I'm curious, which of these villains had you the most conflicted? Drop your pick in the comments because I have a feeling we all have some morally questionable K-drama crushes we need to discuss. And if you're still in the mood for more K-drama actors topic, definitely check out my last video about 16 Korean actors whose deep voices are seriously addictive.